right, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Wait.
Good morning, good morning.
I thought I was uptown. Good morning, everyone. That's what I'm talking about. I want to make sure we're still awake on this beautiful, sunny day. I want to jump right into why we are here, because anyone that is listening to us should be shocked to the core about the state of wrongful convictions in the state of New York. Now, over the past couple of years, the country has begun to have a conversation about our criminal legal system and how inhumane, how brutal, how cruel, how unusual our criminal legal system is. Last year, many of us took to the streets in protest against how our policing system lacks accountability, lacks transparency, and how it needs to be overhauled. And in 2019, the New York State Legislature made a number of changes to bail and speedy trial and discovery to make our system more fair and just. And I'm grateful for all of those things that I just mentioned. But today, we are standing for what I believe to be the greatest injustice in our criminal legal system. And that is an innocent person spending at least one day incarcerated.
Amen.
Just one day.
Right.
And we have a wrongful conviction problem here in the state of New York. Now, to those of you who don't care for criminal justice reform, for those of you who say, we can criminalize poverty, that's okay. For those of you who say policing, nothing wrong with that, that's okay. I ask you today, would you spend a day incarcerated for a crime you did not commit? This isn't a Democrat or Republican issue.
That's right.
This is a moral imperative.
That's right.
This is an issue of the heart. We are innocent before we are proven guilty, but what happens when you're guilty even when you're innocent? We cannot stand for that here in the state of New York, so we are collectively demanding today that not one more person suffer under our wrongful conviction problem. Not one more. Now, we are standing today with some brothers that know all too well about this problem. 19 years of freedom they've enjoyed, but only after suffering the brutality of this criminal legal system. And I'm here to tell you this, on the 20th anniversary, we're coming back right here, and we are going to say that we were victorious because we passed the bills that we are pushing for today. So let me briefly talk about some of the bills that we are pushing, and then we could get to the people you really want to hear from today.
All right.
So the first bill is the Challenging Wrongful Convictions Act. And what this bill does is allow for innocent people to prove that they are just that, innocent. Right now, if you plead guilty to a criminal offense, the only way that you can overturn that conviction is if there is new DNA evidence. But we know that there are many reasons why people confess to crimes they did not commit. And 1 in 5 of the people that have been exonerated over the past couple of years confess to crimes they did not commit. So this bill would allow for post-conviction discovery. It would give you counsel to challenge your conviction, and it would disallow the guilty plea bar that says that you can only get innocence if you haven't pled to the crime. The second bill is the End Deception in Interrogation Act. Now, a lot of people don't know this, and their eyes widen when we tell them it is 100% legal for the cops to lie to you. 100% legal. So what this bill does, it says no longer can your own government lie to you during an interrogation.
Yes.
And it would dismiss any evidence that comes from an interrogation where a law enforcement officer has lied to you during that interrogation.
Right.
And the last bill in this package that we are pushing for is the Youth Right to Remain Silent Act. We know all too well that our young people in the most vulnerable position in their lives, under interrogation, talking to a law enforcement officer, don't have counsel. They don't have their families. They don't have an attorney that can say, do not waive your Miranda rights. So this bill says, no longer will you be able to interrogate a young person and have them waive their Miranda rights until they have spoken to a lawyer, until they have counsel. It would require that and dismiss any evidence of them waiving their Miranda rights before speaking to an attorney. So I am so excited to be with all of our partners today, the Innocence Project, friends and family of the wrongly convicted, Vocal New York, the Legal Aid Society, the New York County Defender Service, and my colleagues in government to say not one more. Not one more. Not one more. Not one more. So,
One more.
that's right. One of the sponsors in this package is the very immaculately dressed gentleman next to me. Coming to us from the borough of Queens, Assemblymember Clyde Vanell.
Well, first of all, I have to thank such a strong steward of justice, and one of my colleagues, and my colleague in government, Senator Zellner Myrie. One thing that we have to realize is this, and also, again, I have to talk about, we have to recognize the Innocence Project. We have to recognize, and you'll hear from the Exonerated Five. We have to recognize Vocal, Legal Aid Society, New York Defender Service. But what's very important is this. We're in New York State. This is the Empire State. But this shouldn't be the Empire State of wrongful conviction. That is a shame. As Senator said that an innocent person should not spend one day in jail. The fact that we are still doing these kinds of laws today in New York is a shame. It's a shame.
That's right.
Yes.
What's a challenge and what's difficult is the people in New York that are mostly wrongly convicted look a certain way.
That's right. That's right.
Why is that?
That's right.
Why is that? Why is it difficult to pass these bills? We have to make sure that not only we pass these bills, but this is about justice.
That's right.
This is about equality. And we want to make sure that no innocent person spends time in jail and in prison. These packages of bills make a lot of sense. And guess what, y'all? It's not going to be easy to pass them.
No, it's not.
We got work to do. So this press conference is great. You guys being here is great. But the work is going to be in Albany.
That's right.
The work is going to make sure that we pass these bills in both houses and that our governor signs it. And then we're going to have to work to make sure that's implemented correctly.
That's right.
So that's why I stand here with everyone together to make sure that we fight for a more fair New York, for justice, and so that no innocent person spends time in jail. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Next, we are going to hear from one of the most powerful women in this state. Someone who has been through untold suffering, untold struggle, and has not let that struggle define her, but has used that to be a champion for justice in this state. It is really my distinct honor to be standing with and to bring before you today Ms. Sharon Salaam.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I am very, very pleased to be here, and I'm pleased that other bills and other opportunities for the wrongfully incarcerated people of the world, of New York City in particular, of New York State, have an opportunity for the justice they so justly deserve. I remember years ago when I was going through this process, we didn't have this kind of opportunity. We didn't have other avenues available to us. Since that time, we've been working on other types of issues that would help propel us into a way so that our young people, our children, our aunts, our uncles, our brothers, our sisters, and our mothers and our fathers have an opportunity for the justice they deserve. Many times there are people who are incarcerated today who are innocent of crimes, but because we have a system in this city and in this state and in this country where we have the largest amount of people incarcerated in the world. Let me just let this go by. Yes, this is New York City, so we expect all kind of activities and emergencies to be going on at all times. But getting back to the largest population in the world, right here in New York City, we should be ashamed of ourselves in this country.
That's right.
I was ashamed to find out after I went through the horror and the hell I went through. I'm just going to tell you how for a minute it feels to walk down the street, have people spitting at you. Walking down the street and have people walking up to you and asking, well, what kind of child do you have? He should be killed. Beating up our loved ones in the classrooms who are innocent and victims themselves. Going through this process is a hell that affects our mothers and our fathers, our sisters and brothers and children who are left behind. Many of us lose our loved one while we are incarcerated. And it's something that should not be happening. And for those of us who are wrongfully incarcerated, and what do they say? Some people claim it's only 10%, but that sounds good when there's 100% of us in there. Then lower that number and make it as small as possible. Because I believe it's probably 50%.
Right.
And when they come out, there's no way for them to reach the justice that they deserve. Because the avenues toward that justice are closed. These bills that are there, and we have a bill that assists people also who have been wrongfully incarcerated, who are coming out and need service, they need finances, they need other types of things. That bill is there too. And we need to move forward with those bills. It's just so many of them are waiting. We need to get ourselves together and make it a way. I'm not going to tell much of my story because I don't want all the camera people, the news people in the world to be falling on their knees crying for me. I want people to stand up and start fighting with me.
That's right.
Take this fight on to the end. We got to make it win because our people, our children, our husbands, our wives depend on this victory.
That's right.
We need you all to be a part of it. And we're going to start off. I know I only have a few minutes to speak because there's so many of us here who are wrongfully incarcerated. But if you're wrongfully incarcerated and it's this group, raise your hand. Raise your hand. Let them know who you are. If you believe you're wrongfully incarcerated and you haven't been exonerated yet, raise your hand.
Put it up there.
Raise it up.
We here. Amen.
We are all here. We are not alone. And neither am I. And so right now I want to introduce to you some of the people